And spoilers for this episode starts now. All right, it was good. I like the very end. I started to get a little disappointed because it's the Deus ex machina. The hero being rescued by the other heroes at the very end. Just when you think he's going to die, someone swoops in and rescues him. But with that being said, Rick kind of got rescued, but he didn't. But I thought they played this right. They meaning the writers. Andrew Lincoln doesn't want to do the show anymore. I hear it's a brutal. I hear the schedule's brutal, and it's not like Andrew Lincoln needs the money. He probably wants to spend more time with his family. So he wants off the show, which I wish he wasn't off the show, but fine. I get it. But they didn't kill him off, which was refreshing because they can always bring him back if Lincoln wants to come back on a limited basis. They left that open. So, and I love flash forwards. I love them. I love to figure out what happened in between, the gaps. And apparently it looks, I guess maybe 5 or so years. Judith doesn't appear to be a teenager yet. No, she's definitely not a teenager yet. But this is going to be interesting because I'm going to give some comic book spoilers too. So if you didn't read the comics, just shut this off right now. I think, okay, it looks like, and this is just from a couple of lines, the actress they got to play Judith, the little girl they got to play Judith, just from those couple of lines, it shows that she's good. And for a part like Judith Grimes, who was killed in the comics when she was a baby. I believe Laurie was holding her, and then Laurie got shot, and they both died. Carl is still alive in the comic books, but what they're going to do, I think, now in the show is use the Carl of the comics, but replace her with Judith of the show, kind of. And the Carl in the comics forms a bond with Negan. So I think that's what they're going to do. Now with Negan, it's interesting that the interplay between Negan and Maggie did take place in the comics. It was a little different. It took place many years after Negan escaped from jail in the comics, and he was still, the whole way through just this vicious character, vicious character with many sides. So what they did different than the comic in the show was that that whole speech that Negan gave when he was crying in front of Maggie, that was done in the comics, but Maggie tracked Negan down because Negan got away from the group, and Maggie tracked him down, and Negan did that. But it was many years later, and it was in a house, and then he broke down and started crying, and that's when Maggie said, well, you're not worth it. I'm going to keep you alive so you can suffer. And then Maggie walked off. So many years went by before Maggie had to do that, and they kind of shortened the time here. But I really liked how it showed Rick's life, and oh man, Scott Wilson coming back made me cry. Because Scott Wilson's dead in real life, the guy who played Herschel, and I'm so glad they at least had him record those lines. I'm surprised they didn't get the guy who plays Glen. That would have been nice. That would have been something touching to see Rick talk to Glen. I wonder why that didn't happen. I think Glen would have been a better choice than Sascha, because Sascha wasn't a major character from what I remember, but Glen was. I mean, Sascha had a big role, and she was a recurring character and a great actress, but I think the Glen character had more weight. So maybe they just didn't have the schedule. Maybe the schedules weren't right. So it's kind of a reboot again, which is good. And I think with the helicopter taking Jadis off I believe it's kind of the storyline that's going on now in the comic books. I think it's called the Commonwealth is the name of this, and it's a gigantic community that is much more technologically advanced, and it's run by, she made an appearance, I forgot her name, but she made an appearance season or two ago. It's a woman, short blonde hair with glasses. She spoke to, I forgot who she spoke to. The past couple of years of Walking Dead, I've just kind of watched it just on autopilot and in the background. But so I think that's where they're going. And again, please, if you're listening this far ahead and you're still listening and you haven't read the comics, please shut off. With the zombies talking. And I like how the show is teasing it. They're saying the walkers are evolving. The walkers aren't evolving. They're people. They're people who are alive in. They skin the zombies and they make masks out of them so they can walk amongst the dead and communicate. And that's how they fight. They're known as the Whisperers, and that's some great storyline there. So I went. The past couple episodes this season, the premiere episode was fantastic, and I recorded a podcast about that. Couple episodes after that were all right. They weren't bad, but they weren't great. They were so-so. But this one was good, and it makes me excited for the next episode. I'm so curious what they're going to do with Judith. When what's the kid's name who played Carl when he was off the show? There's some weird goings on about why he was fired, but I really think he was fired because he wasn't that good an actor. And the Carl character is so complex and so rich and so just hard to play. Very hard character to play. And just Chandler Riggs just wasn't cutting it. So I can understand why they got rid of him, and hopefully Judith will take the place of Carl. Because Carl in the comics now is around 15 or 16. Judith looks around 10, 8, 9, 10, something like that. So I'm curious, and maybe the show I think is going to keep going as long as it can make money. So we'll see the girl grow, and like I said, she appears to be a good actress just from those couple of lines. So I like that. I like to see women, girls get prominent roles, and Walking Dead is walking now that Andrew Lincoln's gone. You have just women roles taking the lead. With the exception of Daryl and with the exception of Negan, you got Michonne and you got Carol. And so they're probably going to take the lead. And to like a lesser extent, you have Rosita and you have Tara. I'm not a fan of the Tara character, and then I'm sure you'll see more women roles coming up. But the main ones, I guess the main characters now, it's probably a Michonne show now. I mean, Michonne's probably the Denai Guerrero is probably the main character now that Andrew Lincoln's gone. She's definitely the most iconic, I guess, between her and Daryl show-wise. But, Daryl's not in the book, at least not yet, and I doubt he will be. But, so it's going to be Michonne and it's going to be Maggie. I think they're going to be the focus points of the two camps. That interaction they had when Maggie was going into Negan's cell, that was so well done. They're just fantastic actresses. So I am very much looking forward to it. And I saw a little trivia. When Rick went to the cabin, on the mailbox it said Cardille. Now, Cardille, there is some zombie history with the name Cardille. The name Cardille was first was the name of a man named Bill Chilly Billy Cardille. Now, Bill Chilly Billy Cardille hosted like a horror show in the 60s, and I think he was known around the Pittsburgh area. He had a role in Night of the Living Dead, the original George A. Romero Night of the Living Dead, where he played himself, Bill Cardille. He played a reporter. But his daughter, Lori Cardille, starred in George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, 16 or so years later. So Night of the Living Dead was 1968, Day of the Dead was 1985, and Lori Cardille was fantastic as the main character in Day of the Dead. And that movie was very much ahead of its time as far as lead women characters go, because Lori Cardille's character named Sarah in Day of the Dead, she was the focal point of the movie. So, and Greg Nicotero one of his first movies that he did special effects on was Day of the Dead in 1985. He's actually in Day of the Dead. If you want to see a very young Greg Nicotero, he did special effects, but he also played a small part in the movie. Go see it. Day of the Dead's a fantastic movie, and some of the best special effects you'll ever see in your entire life. And that was made in 1985. They still hold up today. If you haven't seen Day of the Dead, what the fuck are you doing? Go see it. Go see the first three Romero movies. If it wasn't for those first three Romero movies, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, there would not be a Walking Dead, bar none. Even Robert Kirkman, the creator, says that. There just wouldn't. It's a fact. It's definitely a fact. All right? I don't even know who I'm arguing with. I'm arguing with no one. So back to The Walking Dead. We're going to see Andrew Lincoln come back. Maybe the last season, maybe the last episode. Who knows? He's going to be back. It'll be nice to see him eventually, It's going to happen. So that's nice. I would have been sad to see Rick go. Yeah, I think that's it. So I will be sad to see all you go while not commenting or rating this podcast. Ha 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 ha. See what I did? So you can do that by, you can find me on Twitter at MMAM Podcast. You can find me on Facebook at MMAM Podcast. You can share this podcast on any of the platforms that it's on. Please rate and review. That's how more people get to know about it. And I'm on YouTube too, so feel free to leave a YouTube comment. Do what you can. And I don't think I'm going to release this podcast before Election Day. On the off chance that I do, please vote. And if this is released after Election Day, I hope the Democrats at least take the House. So that's it. That's my Walking Dead wish. All right, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.